Hi, guys. It's Thursday. We're almost to the weekend. Whew, let me say hi to you guys and then I'll bring Allie up because we have got a lot to go over. So let me say hi. Let me scroll back up here. Hey, Queen Bella. Hey, Music City Mom, Shauna, Petunia, Sexy Wild Thing, McLovin, Freaking Baby Face, Klaus, Kathy, Neat Noodle, Kathy, Swartz. Sorry. Let me see here. I'm glad you guys like the intro. Those take a long time. Hey, Rachel, good to see you. And Nadine, my boo. Oh no, we'll be safe with your bad weather, babe. Please. Hey, Melissa, good to see you, babe. Ro, hey. Hey, Pointer Lover. Hey, Scotty. Scott H. I cannot talk or read today. Hey, Christine. Hey, Sherry. Hey, Nature Rocks. Hey, Low Red. Hey, Brady Gardner. Cool Gamer. What up? Let's see. I think I got everybody. Crime Crochet and Coffee. Ange. Good to see you, Blue. Teacup Kraken. Sherry. I think I might have already said hi, but I don't know. Hey, Grandma Cece. Good to see you. All right. So, thank you, Grandma Cece. I appreciate that. I try. All right, let me bring Allie up because, oh my gosh, MJ, you do not have to do that, babe. Thank you so much. I appreciate it very, very much. Okay. Hey, Lisa. Debbie, let me bring up Allie before I get too carried away in the highs and everything. If I miss you, it's not intentional. Hello, welcome. Come in, take a seat, get comfortable, grab you a snack. We finna be here a second. Let me bring up our girl, Allie. Hello.
Hey.
Hi. What's up?
Nothing. Ooh, I like the way I match your black and white thing you got going on with your picture and your background.
Well, thank you. I was tired of it. I like to switch it up
Cool.
every once in a while, but getting tired of it, of things being the same all the time. So
I
I
love the
have to
new
switch
intro.
it
I
up.
love
Oh, thank
especially
you.
the way it starts, like the sun and stuff. It's just so cool for summer. Very cool. It reminds me of I don't know, it reminds me of something nostalgic, the sun part. But then also, I love the new background here.
Well,
And I love
thank
the way your
you.
picture blends in with it like so cool. It looks really good.
Thank
And then
you.
I
I
unintentionally
appreciate
matched
that.
you.
No, and I love it. Are you wearing your overalls in that picture? I love it.
Yes.
Or is
Thank
that the
you.
skirt one? Hey, Melissa. Thank you,
It's
baby. You do not have to do that. But
it
thank
is
you.
the overall skirt. Like it's the
Only
overall
you
dress
could
or
pull
whatever.
that
Yeah.
off. I can't do the overall skirts.
You
But I
could
do.
pull it off. Yes, you
I
could.
don't know, Allie. I don't know. Not anymore. I don't know about anymore. Maybe like 3 years ago. Whew.
Well, I think
These
so.
trials, man, y'all, let me just tell y'all, they have messed up my whole day, my whole system. I'm having to get up at the butt crack of dawn just so, and I was behind on Karen Reed. And so I've only worked out once this week. This is not going the right way for summer. I'm telling you. And then we have this kerfuffle that happened with Chad Daybell and his trial. But then tomorrow, Allie and I really want to get back on track with the calls and the video calls. And so the only way to do that is to play a bunch of calls from May so that we can get to the video calls in June. And then we have calls, regular jail calls in June. And then that's it for a minute for the jail calls. Then we have more calls on the way. So, yes. Oh, well, Red, thanks for being a member for 5 months. I appreciate that, babe. Very much. Thank you for the support. All right. So, hold on un momentito. Let me try to find. I just want to see if there's just a clip of the error where we don't have to play the whole thing all the way through. Let me see about this.
Okay.
I think it's right here. Yes, I found it.
Wonder if he's got a. Okay.
I found it. Oh, Glowbug, thank you so much for being a member for 9 months. We're about to have a YouTube baby. Whew. Okay. All right. So I found it. Hold on. Here's where we need to be. Oh my God. I'm all rusty. Like I don't know what I'm doing. Like I didn't just, share the screen 10 minutes ago. Come on, Jen Lou. Get it together. Make this bigger. Turn on closed captions. All right. All right. So we're going to start it here. And let me speed it up because we have a lot to go through because we're going to talk about the calls. We're going to talk about everything. But this was the biggest thing that happened today as far as everybody, Whew. Oh my God, MJ, thank you so much. You better stop. I appreciate that, babe. I do. You don't have to do that. All right, here we go. Oh, Allie, remember that thing we talked about in text about epidemic sound?
Yes.
It's done. It's paid for. Don't worry about it.
Oh, okay. Awesome.
Yeah. It's taken care of.
Okay.
So you can play you can play the Karen Reed intro when you want to. And I need to show you how to get on there and download songs for yourself. Okay, here we go.
Identification of the
what's going on with the
victim
settings?
was established.
Oh, I guess
by
it's just
Samantha Gwilliam and others. The defendant was identified relating to that count by testimony from Craig Huff, Zulema Pastanes, Colby Ryan. Looking at the overt acts established, there were 12 in that count, and the court notes that there was, again, identification of the victim, Tammy Daybell, by Samantha Gwilliam on count 1.
Okay, I forgot about this part. So this is actually them arguing the points. What had happened was, okay, this is procedural. So once the state rested, and we've seen this 11 billion times, right? Hey, Big Crumbs. All right, so once the state rests, it's standard protocol for the defense to get up and say that essentially they want all the charges dismissed because, oh, hey, by the way, the state didn't meet their burden, they didn't prove their case, blah, blah, blah. Totally normal. So the judge has to rule on that. And as he's ruling on that, the way he does it is he goes through each and every charge in the indictment. So when he gets to the one about JJ Vallow, okay, what he noticed is the date that the state says that JJ died, and died is the wrong word, was murdered, was incorrect. It was they had it as September 9th, when they've been arguing throughout the whole trial that it's September 22nd. Now, when Chad Daybell was originally indicted, the dates were correct. However, back in December, Pryor made a motion, and I just remember the judge, there was an amendment to the indictment. This is tantamount really to a clerical error, but it was big. And the thing is that nobody caught it. And by nobody, I mean everybody. Everybody in the court, nobody in the court caught it that actually works, in the court, right? But all of us viewers, because Boyce read the indictment, the amended indictment, at the beginning of the trial, and none of us caught it. I did not catch it at all. So we're going to listen to this a little bit. Let me speed it up just a little because it's moving just a little too slow for me. And then we will get to it and really talk. Allie, you got anything you want to add, babe?
No, I don't, except for I definitely didn't catch it. I'm never listening for things like that. Maybe I should be, you know what I mean? But I wasn't this time.
Neither was I, because usually, to be quite frank, the only indictment that I've listened to that's been read in these latest trials really was Karen Reed. And that's because I didn't know anything about her case. And so I paid attention to it. But usually by the time, like for this trial, for Lori's trial, for Letitia's trial, like I already, I know what the indictment is. So I kind of tune out. Not anymore. I'll be paying attention from now on. Hey, Legendary, good to see you. All right, so here we go.
Some evidence came in through testimony of Jason William, Ian Pulowski. Count 2,
We're going
Ashley
to
Rand
skip
and Chuck
this.
Considas testified about the overt act there.
Under Idaho criminal.
All right, hold on. We're on this a little
Court's
bit.
December 8th, 2023.
It's to JJ Vallow and the issue the court brought up. So, Ms. Beatty, are you claim as set forth in count 9? So, upon considering the evidence presented in the state's case in chief on those counts, the court is denying the motion for the judgment of acquittal. And at this time, the court is going to permit some additional argument from the state as it relates to count 4, the first-degree murder count, as it relates to JJ Vallow and the issue the court brought up. So, Ms. Beatty, are you prepared to argue that?
I am, Your Honor. Thank you.
Okay, so as we just heard, this is Judge Boyce went through each of the charges in the indictment and cited exactly why he was denying the defendant's motion for acquittal because the state met their burden of proof. So now we're going to hear from, oops, this is not the right one. Now I should probably turn this down just a little. Now we're going to hear from Miss Beatty as to what she thinks should be done about the indictment as it pertains to JJ. All right, here we go.
I'll hear additional argument on count 4 then from the state, and I'll allow additional rebuttal argument as well from the defense.
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, in looking at the case law and the relevant rules and statutes, the state really has 3 options for the court at this point. The first, and I'll talk about each of them in a little more depth, but the first option would be because count 4 of the amended indictment did not fall within the scope of the court's December 8th, 2023 order to amend, and we'll get to that in a moment, the court can simply correct it under Idaho Criminal Rule 36 so that it conforms with what count 4 should be, which would be count 4 as set forth in the original indictment. And I'll discuss that more in a moment. Second, the court could accept that we do have a variance here and either instruct the jury on a variance between the jury instructions and evidence that they've heard, or the court under State versus Jones, which we'll also discuss in a moment, the court could address that variance by simply putting in September of 2019 in the count 4 jury instruction, which is very similar to what the court in Jones did, as we'll discuss in a moment. Third, and finally, the court would be within its discretion to reopen the case to allow the state to correct the indictment if the court does find that it needs to be formally amended. So as to the first option, the state did not move to, and the court never granted a motion for the state to amend the indictment as to the date or as to the date within count 4 or as to anything about count 4. Under Idaho Code 19-1420, the state can only amend without leave of the court prior to entry of plea. Under Idaho Criminal Rule 7E, the court grants the state leave before amending a charging document. In this case, the state made a motion to amend the indictment on November 23rd, 2023 in 3 very specific ways. The first was to modify the subsection referred to in counts 1 and counts 3 from Idaho Code section 182403 sub 4 sub A to section 182403 sub 2 sub A. The second change requested by the court was to modify the language in counts 2, 3, and 5 from, quote, the defendants, Chad Guy Daybell, Lori Noreen Vallow, and Alex Cox, unquote, to, quote, the defendants, Chad Guy Daybell, Lori Noreen Vallow, and or Alex Cox, unquote. Finally, the state requested that leave to amend the indictment to modify the language in Overt Act 10 under count 5 from, quote, month, unquote, to, quote, months, unquote. Importantly, Your Honor, nowhere in the state's motion did the state ever seek leave to amend any portion of count 4. On December 8th of 2023, the court granted the state's motion. The court's order states, quote, for the reasons stated on the record, the court will grant the state's motion. The amended indictment is ordered to be filed in the case, unquote. Subsequently, of course, the state did file an amended indictment, but in that indictment, it does appear that the date within count 4, the first-degree murder charge of J.J. Vallow, was inadvertently changed to the same date as the murder of Tylee Ryan. The state would note that the initial indictment was filed in this case on May 25th of 2021, and in that indictment, J.J. Vallow's death dates were properly set forth as the 22nd and 23rd of September of 2019. Just 2 days after that, counsel for the defendant filed his notice of appearance in the case. This matters in the court's analysis because it goes to prejudice and it goes to notice where we had an indictment with the correct dates for 2.5 years, during which the entirety of that time, counsel and the defendant were aware of that date range. And we'll discuss that in a moment as well.
Okay, so she makes some really salient legal arguments, and let's go ahead and see what Pryor has to say about it because, you know, I might have skipped forward too much. Hold on. Nope, she's still going.
Been instructed on something that very
Mistake was made here. We're talking.
I think it's 118.
What the fuck? I don't appreciate this.
Certainly, there might be something out there that we're not aware of, but I do think that under this case law, if the court felt that a formal amendment was necessary, the court could reopen the case. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, thank you for the citations and the well-argued points there, Ms. Beatty. Mr. Pryor, any response from the defense on this?
Judge, I'm going to work in reverse. And as far as reopening the case,
It's going to be some gibberish. Are you kidding me?
of an E. Doesn't say the court has 118 Idaho. We have.
Oh my, I'm leaving it. There we
I
go.
never saw anything to suggest that they have any right to do any of this. And there's a State versus O'Neill, Judge. I think it's 118 Idaho 244 that talks about Idaho Code and the statute 191420. But Judge, the specificity of 7E doesn't say the court has the authority to go back and allow them to reopen. It doesn't say they have the authority to go back and create a variance. It doesn't say they have a right to go back and make a correction. What it does say is they may and they have to make any amendments or corrections prior to resting their case. There's nothing else that says, well, we got a little bit of wiggle room here and let's let them change things after they rest their case. And 4 lawyers had a chance to look at this indictment. 4 lawyers have had over a year to analyze this. And then after they rest their case and decide that the court picks up on the fact, and Judge, I mentioned to the court that there were elements. I wasn't going to key the prosecutor off that they had a problem. And if the court didn't catch it and there was subsequently a problem, someone else would have caught it and would have corrected it in the future. But they don't get to correct it now. They don't have any authority to say that. The cases they cite talk about other issues that have nothing to do with having the ability to change an indictment as I am preparing to present my case to the jury in this case on a capital murder case. They've lost their chance. They don't get to go back. Judge, I'm asking the court to dismiss the charge.
All right, looking back over a rule here, I have.
Okay. So, Melissa and I were talking about this, and she was asking me, do I believe that he knew this whole time? And I have to say, the answer is yes, I do believe that he knew this entire
Oh,
time. And I
really?
do, yes. And I do believe that he waited until this moment to say what he said, because this would be the right time to raise
Wait,
this
but
issue.
I thought the judge is the one who brought it out, not him.
Well,
That's why I thought he didn't know, because I'm like, if the judge had to bring it out, maybe he didn't.
I think he would have had the judge not done it. I think he knew the entire time. And I think had the judge not caught it, I think that Pryor would have either would have probably brought it up, because the argument here is with respect to the dismissal of the acquittal, basically dismissing all of the charges. Pryor listened as the judge, and the judge is right. He went through all the other charges, right, and how the state proved those charges. He cited witnesses, etc. But on the charge that concerns J.J. Vallow, and this is a technicality, but he's not wrong. Okay. What they proved, the state proved, is that JJ was killed between the 22nd and the 23rd of September. That's what they proved. What they were required to prove would be the September 9th date, because that's what's in the indictment. They have to prove the charges. Okay.
See,
so
I was thinking he didn't know, and I still do think that, but I do think it's interesting to your point. But why would he wait and let the judge? What if the judge didn't bring it up? Then would he do it? I don't know.
yes, I think he would
Now
have.
we'll never know, I guess. But
Well, yeah, I mean, we'll never know, but I do think
he definitely was going to wait for them to close their case, right? That
yes.
makes sense.
Right. He had to wait for them to rest their case in chief.
Right.
And then when he filed for the motion for an acquittal, citing that the state didn't meet their burden of proof, that is a normal standard operating procedure, right? But it is that last, and let's be honest, the truth of the matter is, let's say that the judge didn't rule in favor of the state, which he did. Okay. But let's say he didn't. It doesn't change a whole lot for Chad. He has essentially one less charge that the jury has to convict him of. What it does is, I don't think it helps him to walk. I don't think he's going to be found not guilty of the other charges. In fact, I think that there's a really good argument that could be made that, like, look, realistically, they were not murdered on the same day. She was on the 9th, he was on the 22nd. What is that? 11 days, 12, how many, Matt, help me math, Allie. 11 days, is that right? Yeah.
I don't know.
12 days, 12 days.
I'm half reading the chat
13
too.
days, whatever it is. Okay. There was time. Let's just make it nice and round. 2 weeks. There was 2 weeks in between the time that Tylee was murdered and buried on that property, and that JJ was murdered and buried on that property. There was 2 weeks, plenty of time to think about things, right? So there's so much time in between, though, that it's not necessary for them to prove Tylee's death in order to convict him of JJ's death. Do you understand what I'm saying? There's time in between. So they're really two separate standalone charges. And what it would have been, more than anything, would have been no justice for Chad for JJ as it pertains to Chad. So it would have been more of a devastating thing than oh God, Chad might be acquitted completely. That was never
Right.
going to happen.
He wasn't
You know?
he wasn't getting out. And
Yeah.
he would still, I was watching Scott Reich,
Mhm.
and he was saying, he would still have the conspiracy charges for JJ. It just wouldn't be
Correct.
the murder charge. And the
Correct.
conspiracy to commit murder, isn't that a life sentence charge?
I believe that it is a
Conspiracy
life
for
without
murder?
parole. I think the indictments, the charges that would net him the death penalty are the actual murder one charges. So,
Right. Yes.
you know, I don't know how this error occurred. I don't know how it was allowed to go on so long before being caught. I just think I'm glad that I have to say, and I haven't had an opportunity because I was listening to Melissa, but at some point I will go back and listen to like LawTube because they're going to talk about this. I know they are, and I'm very interested, particularly in the lawyer. I like, and I like Emily Baker too. I like them all, but I'm going to listen to them and I'm going to see what they say about this. I'm curious about their opinions because I am wondering if I have concerns about appeal. I feel very strongly that there's a strong likelihood that Chad is going to be found guilty of everything and that he is going to receive the death penalty on at least one of the charges. Okay, that he's death penalty eligible for, which would mean that he gets automatic appeals. And so I'm concerned because it is a capital murder case that I'm concerned that this error may be overturned on appeal. The only bad thing
Yeah.
about that, I think, would be if it was say it was only JJ's murder that they decided that he's worthy of the death penalty for, which I don't know why they would, but just for argument's sake, let's say that that's the only one, right? And that's the one in question. So if it were to be overturned, likely all that would happen really is that Chad would just get his sentence commuted to life without the possibility of parole. So I think
Well, I
I'm
know
not exactly sure.
I was watching both the lawyer, and Emily Baker today on Karen Reed, and neither one of them, just not to change the subject, but just real quick, Emily was asked, would you like to prosecute this case? And she said, oh, hell no. She's like,
It's
absolutely not. She's like, first of all, the lead investigator asking for wanting to find her nudes, and then all the witnesses, and she was just saying, no, this is a nightmare.
It is a highly, highly, highly problematic case. Even if I were the best attorney in the whole wide world, I wouldn't want to.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to.
And then lawyer, was kind of being a little, he took they surprised me because they're both kind of seem to be leaning towards, not that Karen's going to be found not guilty, but somewhat in that direction,
Mm-hmm. I'm still going through and listening to all of the Albert's family, and then the people that were in attendance at the house. So that let's just call it the after party crowd. I'm still going through all of that testimony, and but I'm listening to it now, and I'm trying to be far more objective than I think I was initially. I think that we'll talk about that another night, but that's what I'm trying to do. And Allie and I are trying to work out together how we're gonna, what kind of schedule we'll be on. Because I know that there's no court tomorrow. for Daybell. Mr. Pryor will start his case, presenting his case on Monday. I don't know how
Oh, I can't
long of
wait.
a case that he has, right? I don't know how long it will take him. But remember, once the once he rests, the state will get a little bit of a rebuttal, right? Then it'll be
Mhm.
given to the jury to deliberate. They'll deliberate. I don't know how long it will take, but once they are done deliberating, should they come back and find him guilty, then there will be the other part of the trial, the second phase of the trial. They're going to have to, then it's going to be up to the state to argue to the jury and convince them why Chad Daybell is deserving of the death penalty. And then also it will be Pryor's job to show why he shouldn't get the death penalty. So I would think, given that at the end of next week is the Labor Day weekend or Memorial Day weekend, sorry. So that shortens the week, the end of the week, and then, the beginning of next week. I would think that there's probably about 2.5 more weeks worth of Chad Daybell's trial left, at least, maybe 3, depending on how long they deliberate.
I'm looking most forward to hearing Pryor's case that he puts on. I'm very interested because, look, however we may feel about the man, since day one, literally day one, he has been fighting like hell. He really has. I want to see what he's going to put on.
I'm curious as well. I will tell you this, I have great concerns though for Pryor, and here's why. He's done a commendable job advocating solo. Nobody is helping him. Meaning, you see, when the 4 lawyers are sitting at the state's table, they work together and they help run the Elmo and all the other, all the things, right? Pryor's doing that all on his own. But here's where
it's kind of sad, actually. I kind of feel
sad.
bad for him. I can't help it.
I do too. But I will say this. I am concerned for Pryor because while he might be a good lawyer, and I think he's a fairly decent lawyer. First of all, he's not death penalty qualified. That's number one, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
Chad wanted him, and that's what he got. He paid for him. Number two, it's really going to come down, I think, to arguments. And Pryor is not good at arguing. I don't think that he's good at that. I think that either one of the women on the state's team are far, far superior at arguing and are making good arguments. And
Pryor gets angry. He
does.
Gets so frustrated in it. Yeah. And thank you, Claus. But yeah, he just gets so flustered, and I don't know.
He does. And then he talks over himself, and
and he won't even let people finish their answers before he goes to the next question. He starts getting so worked up. But what I'm looking forward to the most from him, I think, is Chad's kids. Yeah, I'm really.
I'm gonna say this.
To
same, but I'm gonna tell you right here and right now, Pryor, please hear me. Hear me well. You're taking a huge, huge risk. This is a huge gamble, having them testify. I hope you've prepared them. That's all I'm going to say. I think that them testifying might be more of a gamble, if I'm being honest. I think it's really close. It's probably the odds are the same risk-wise if Chad Daybell hauled his cookies up there to the stand and testified in his own defense. I think this is a horrible idea. Simultaneously.
Wait, putting the kids up? The kids up is a horrible idea? Is that okay?
Yes.
And also the second, right when you said that, Melissa put, yes, will it backfire? And that's basically what you're saying. So it was just the timing was ooh, I never even thought about that. And then Tess said
Yeah.
they'll eat Emma alive. So what do you think will happen? Why do you think it's such a bad idea?
Well, the one thing that they have going for them, the kids, is that there isn't a whole lot. Like, they met with, hold on a minute. I need to adjust in my chair. Hold on.
Hey, Dave G. I don't
I'm
have my chat up
uncomfortable.
in the app. I can't do
Oh,
that chat in the app, and I don't have my Windows window open, so I just said hi through the thing. Sorry.
oh
Go ahead.
no. Hey, Dave G. Okay, so the one thing that the Daybell children have is they don't have like a long interrogation with anybody, right? There's not like this long, interview where where they've already given some type of statement. Okay. So that is one thing in their favor. It's easier to impeach a witness if they've already spoken, right? If they've gone on record in some capacity. Okay. However, and I'm curious about this, I'm not an attorney, so I am actually curious. They did go on Dateline, and I'm curious if that can be used.
I would think so, right? I mean,
So
it's
I would think so
like
too. I don't.
for
Are y'all
impeachment.
watching the Jinx? Yes. Are y'all watching the Jinx part 2? If
I'm
you're not,
going
you
to
should.
because you talking about it. Yeah, you talking about it. And then actually, I seen some, like, I was watching Law and Crime or Court TV or somewhere with like a huge chat, and they were talking about it in the chat.
Yes. So, okay, Robert Durst agreed to be on that show. He agreed to be mic'd. He agreed to give a statement, right? So, he makes a statement at the end of the first part. And for those who haven't seen it, I'm not going to spoil it for you. So come along the second part, and what they start with is they start with showing how the first part ended, and they show it in the form of a watch party. Okay, people that were close to Kathy's family, Janine Pirro, the judge now, but she was an attorney back in the day, and he makes this statement, and while he's got a hot mic, and they all ask her, can they use that? And she says, yes, they can, because it's not an interrogation. He's not been Mirandized. This is not the same thing, yada, 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 whatever. So I think that they can use what they said on Dateline. And I am very curious if they will. I still haven't watched all the way through their Dateline episode, but I'm going to, just to be, get ahead of everything.
In the know of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, now, if you are called to be a witness in a murder investigation, you can't not show up, right? Like, you can plead the fifth, I guess, and not incriminate yourself, but you can't refuse to testify, correct? You have to be there, because the way I understood it when with the Adams case, I talked to someone who was like, they said they wouldn't have went if they didn't have to, and they were told they had to they were subpoenaed,
Yeah, if you have a subpoena, if you are subpoenaed, it is not an invitation. You cannot, there's no RSVP on a subpoena, when you get to decide whether you will, accept or decline the invite. It's not an invite. It's not a request. It is a demand. Yo ass needs to show up in court on this date at this time. And you are certainly free not to show up. However, a bench warrant will be issued for your arrest. You must show up
yes.
when you are subpoenaed.
Remember?
Yes.
Whose was it that, remember that woman?
Adams.
Want to show
It was
up?
Adam Montgomery.
Okay.
It was the girl that knew them from the shelter.
Oh yeah,
remember?
That's right.
She didn't want to.
Yep.
She didn't want to testify, and they said, "You better."
Okay. I thought it. I'm getting.
And they
confused,
threatened
but
her.
I do
remember, with the warrant.
Mhm.
Remember?
Yep.
And she said, "But I'm a survivor. I am. I have order. I have
Yes.
protection orders out. I'm a victim of DV. This is a risk for me. All the things. But yeah, you have to show up. It's not a request.
Bendy, your
Mhm.
Nightbot is about to start. Your Nightbot's about to time out Carolina because she
What?
accidentally put a period because she didn't space after her period in the next word.
Oh.
They think she's typing links,
Oh,
and they just gave
God.
her a warning. And I've had that happen, and they will start timing them out. They did it in mine. I had to turn off all
Oh,
those functions.
they did it. Hold on. How do I
Oh
undo it?
no, Carolina.
She was only timed out
I
for
don't
5
know.
seconds. By the time I even
Okay, good.
by the time I even figure out how to do it, it'll be over.
Okay, good. How do you undo what? The timeout or the?
Yeah.
I would
How do
turn
I
off that
undo her
function so
timeout?
this.
Well, I
You
can't
click
I'm
on.
not
You
gonna.
can't undo a timeout.
I thought you could.
You can undo somebody being hidden, but not a timeout. Yeah.
Oh. Well, I think can't I click on Caroline and make her timeout less?
I don't
Caroline,
think so.
if you can hear me, Nightbot did this to you, and I'm very, very sorry. It's 5 seconds.
It's
I
not
hope you
me.
come
It's
back.
Nightbot.
It's not me. I never time anybody out.
Do y'all
I
see
need
it
to
says
fix them.
in the chat?
Hold
It says,
on.
"Come
Let me
on,
go over
bruh."
here.
Your Nightbot said, "Come on, bruh,"
Of course it
to
did.
Carolina. Yeah.
Of course
Come
it
on,
did.
bruh. Stop posting links. Warning.
Let me see.
Bruh. That's
Bruh.
funny. Oh my God.
Hold on.
Nightbot, you need
Damn
to.
it.
I'm working on
Let me
it,
fix
Bendy.
it.
He's trying to. It's okay, ladies. That was my bad. It's not your bad. You didn't do anything wrong. It's
You
just a
didn't.
period.
It's Nightbot is a jerk. All right, hold on. I'll fix it.
Yeah, she's back now.
What do I do?
But
Not commands. What is it?
you unclick. You have a setting on where it allows it to like mod the chat, and you have to unclick that. I don't know what it's called off the top of my head, but I can look on my thing and try to
Hold
find
on.
it.
No. I can fix it.
We can
I'm
just keep going and hope.
Hold on.
Oh my
There
God,
has to
there's
be a
the
way to do
weirdest bug.
this.
I have to take a picture of this. It has leopard print legs, this bug. It's got
What?
hundreds of legs. Mm-hmm.
There has to be a way to do this. Song requests. Here, maybe this.
I don't know, but hopefully he won't do it again as long as.
I fixed it.
Okay.
It's under
Mine went rose on me
spam
once.
protection. It's under spam protection where it says links. This filter allows you to time out and whitelist links. Okay,
Yeah,
we're not doing
I
all that
turned all
business.
those off.
Yeah,
Because
it's all
mine
off.
went off and started timing out my mods, and like it went off on Pointer Lover, I think. I can't remember what all it did, but yeah, it started name calling and
Pointer?
everything. Like, yes.
What?
I think she did emoji. I don't know what she did. Something like emojis or too many emojis in a row or something.
How damn dare. All right, so you guys want to hear this jacked up ass call
Yes.
between Lori and Chad?
Oh my God, yes. I'm so
Okay.
glad you're playing this because I
Of
listened to
course
this today too, and
how could I not? And let me see, what should we do on the closed captionings, on the closed captions to let's see, options. What should be indicative of what's a good one for Chad? Let's see, font color.
Green?
Yes, that's
for
what I was thinking.
Robin?
Green, because he's gross.
Not so
And
easy being green. To spend your whole life the color of leaf.
now what?
Being red or gold or silver would have been better. But I gotta be green.
Let's make it like this. All right. Whew. Okay. Let me make this bigger. All right, y'all ready? Let's hear this call. All right, here we go.
Okay. No, she didn't program it to say that, Harlot. The bruh part? No, that was Nightbot going off.
Oh, Nightbot. Okay, let me say this. It's annoying to me, and I'm upset with you, Nightbot. No me gusta. However, if you were going to say anything, bruh is probably the best thing you could have said.
The testimony you're about to give will be the truth.
Fitting.
We've got you sped up too much. We want to hear this in all its disgustingness. Want to suffer through it in real time, the way the court had to, the way these jurors had to.
Music City Mom said I blocked Nightbot because I didn't like the conversation.
All right,
Helen
the
wanted to
witness
know
has
what
been
it was.
resworn at this point. Detective Hermosillo, I'll ask a few questions before we commence with your direct examination by Mr. Wood.
Then Claw said I
Since
need
this
to be on the
case
voice.
has been going and you last testified,
Y'all are crazy.
God.
I know.
Excuse me.
Y'all are crazy.
Y'all pace
Okay, I'll
yourselves
mute.
for
I'm
this.
sorry.
Okay, here we go. Let me
Okay.
mute too, because I know I'm not going to make it through this. I know I'm not. Here we go.
have you in any way observed any of the trial testimony?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Have you talked to anybody else about the testimony they've given during trial? Okay, thank you for confirming that. Mr. Wood, if you'd like to inquire on direct, you may.
Thank you. Good morning, Detective.
Morning.
You've already testified, but if you can just briefly remind the jury what you do for a living in Rexburg.
I'm a lieutenant over detectives in Rexburg Police Department.
Okay, this has nothing to do with this, but look what I found for the Karen Reed trial. Look, Allie. There's another one. I think I have ground somewhere.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
Yeah, I'll fix it.
He
So-
was in the next room.
Yes. So whenever it's time, when we get to Karen Reed and all the objections are made and there's no fucking grounds listed, I don't understand that. And I got to tell you, I don't like it at all.
And were you involved in the search for Tyler Ryan and JJ Vallow?
Yes, I was.
Detective, do you recall approximately when Lori Vallow was arrested?
February 20th of 2020.
And do you know where what jail she was eventually held in?
Eventually in Madison County Jail.
I got to go let Nestor out. I'll be right back, you guys.
Are you aware if the Madison County Jail has a phone system for people who are in the jail to speak with friends and family?
Yes, they do.
What is that system called?
It's called Intelmate.
Do you have access to Intelmate?
We do.
How do you access Intelmate?
Through the police department, they give us a username and password. And so we log on and we're able to listen to phone calls from inmates.
And so those phone calls are recorded.
They are.
Do you have any ability to alter or change those recordings with your login information?
No, we don't.
As part of your investigation into searching for JJ Vallow and Tyler Ryan, did you listen to jail phone calls between Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell?
I did.
Why were you doing that?
At that point, we still had two missing children. So every day we listened to phone calls between Chad and Lori, and there were multiple phone calls. But we were trying to get any information to the whereabouts of JJ and Tyler at that time.
How often would they speak with each other?
Maybe 10 or 12 times a day.
Your Honor, I'm going to ask that the witness be handed what's been marked as State's Exhibit 392. Counsel has been given a copy already, and I have a courtesy copy for the court.
Thank you.
Detective, do you recognize State's Exhibit 392?
Yes, I do.
What is it?
A thumb drive that I listen to recordings of. Listen. Yes, ma'am.
Are your initials on that?
No, not on this one.
I might have the actual exhibit, then I'll trade for the courtesy copy, please. Thank you, Mr. Bailiff.
Are your initials on that exhibit?
Yes, they are.
So you have reviewed the contents of that specific exhibit?
Yes.
As part of your investigation, did you ever listen to a jail phone call recorded on June 8th, 2020 at 9:16?
Yes, I did.
Is that what's contained on that exhibit?
Yes, it is.
Is that a true and accurate representation of the jail phone call you listened to?
It is, yes.
Your Honor, I'd ask that State's Exhibit 392 be entered into evidence.
Any objection?
No objection, Judge.
All right, exhibit 392 is admitted.
Detective, I believe you testified you'd listened to many jail phone calls, correct?
Correct.
Just briefly, is there a reason why this jail phone call stuck out to you?
Yes. The content in which you're about to hear, what they were talking about and who they were referencing, stuck out to us. Yes.
And we spoke about that this jail phone call was recorded on June 8th of 2020. Do you recall an event that took place on June 9th of 2020?
Yes.
What happened that day?
That was when we served the search warrant on the Daybell property and found Tylee and JJ.
And so did you listen to this June 8th recording before or after June 9th?
It was after June 9th.
And Your Honor, if I may publish by HDMI?
You may.
And Judge, for purposes, I'm going to ask that the entire audio recording be published.
You intend to publish the whole call, Mr. Wood, or an excerpt?
Your Honor, I intended to start the call in at about 6 minutes. I think if Mr. Pryor wants to play the rest during cross, he's certainly welcome to.
Yeah, I would agree. You can publish an excerpt if you'd like, and the entire call has been admitted. And if you wish to play other sections not played by the prosecution, you can do that on cross.
And for the record, Your Honor, I am going to start at 6:10. Or 6:04. So that's where it's going to let me start.
Visions under pillars of fire. That's what you were reading to me.
Yeah.
Because at the very beginning,
If I can inquire, is that coming through the,
No, it's not.
says, this was all still before the second coming. The Lord had ordained for us to begin the millennial day within Zion and her cities while war and chaos reigned everywhere else. So it was already like the millennium, they were already living millennial way
Like a pocket, yeah.
the whole time.
That's kind of how I've seen it. As begins with a family, then a neighborhood, then a town, then a city. And New Jerusalem is kind of the best example of that.
Right.
Yeah, it starts small, but grows exponentially.
Mm-hmm.
It's will, and they're doing all they can to destroy one of the key families, but they're not going to.
Okay, I want to point out something that I noticed that I just now noticed that I didn't really notice the 20 other times I listened to this call, because I listened to it a few times. He talks about Zion, okay? And you know who else talked about Zion? Warren Jeffs. But you know where he said Zion was going to be? Texas. Fucking idiots, both of them. Although I do love Texas. It's nothing against Texas. It's not that Texas couldn't be the place to be for end times. I'm just saying that that whole part of Zion is not unique to Chad and Lori. It's part of the faith, the LDS faith, the Mormon faith, I should say. Mainstream
That's
Mormons.
interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
And also I need to say this too. I get very irritated with every time Chad makes a statement, he giggles after it. And I think back to testimony of like Tammy and Chad's friends that met that met Lori right after Tammy had been murdered. Because I'm not going to say passed away anymore. I'm going to say murdered, because that's what she was. It is, Zion is part of a bunch of faiths, but the way that it's used in this specific reference is similar to the way that Chad talks about Zion is the same way that Warren Jeffs talks about it, and it's gross. Yes, this call was before Lori's trial, before she went to trial. This call took place June 8th, 2021. Tylee and JJ were found on Chad's property June 9th, 2021. So yes. But it's the way he giggles after he says everything. Anyway, it just reminded me of the testimony of the people that met Lori after after Tammy was murdered, and how they talked about how they were kind of handsy and kind of giggly. And also Melanie Gibb talked about how giggly they were, and, you know, it made her uncomfortable. Shut up, Melanie. Ugh. All right, here we go.
Oh, okay. Wait, before you,
Yeah.
just real quick, before you press play again, Natasha had a question. I thought it was a good question. Listen, she says, do you guys think they actually believe they were doing this for the greater good, so to speak, or that they were using religion as a means to do whatever they wanted? I feel like the second one, but I'm curious. I think I know what you feel, because I think we've had a similar conversation, not exactly this, but let me know what you think. It's an interesting question.
Okay. I think that anybody can look in any religious text and find and twist the meaning of those texts into believing into meaning whatever they want. And so I think for Chad, I do think that he actually believes this, and so does Lori. And I think that wait till you go in, because there's a part that they talk about some stuff that really, really makes me believe that they actually believed in this. This was, yeah.
Well, I think Lori believed it a lot more than Chad. I think she's truly mentally ill. I really do believe that. I think she's the kind of like, unlike Letitia, you know, I think Lori we know that she wasn't even competent to stand trial for a long time, and she lost competency again. Letitia was trying to fool people to think that and miserably failed, but Lori actually was found not to be competent at some time. So I think that Chad he might believe some of it, but also some of it he's using to manipulate and to get what he wants. 100% believe that. And then Pointer Lover must be behind where we were talking about Nightbot getting her, because she wrote, look, Nightbot is rotten.
Yeah. I mean,
remember, she's the one that got thumbed down.
I think that the truth is probably somewhere in the middle of that. I think that this is just my opinion. I think that both Lori and Chad, one thing that they had in common was that they wanted to be something more than average. To them, I think they just wanted to be special. And so I think that Chad came to Lori and he was like, hey, you know, we're James and Elena. We're all these people. We were married in all these previous lives. And they weren't like, even in their previous lives and marriages, they weren't like regular folks. You know, they were either chilling with Jesus or part of bringing over the, you know, the gold plated word of God to the Americas. You know, they were part of something bigger. And I think that I do think that Lori is mentally ill. I do agree with that. And I think that Chad, I think if Chad were honest with himself, he would probably say that he is just as shocked as we all are that anybody bought this crap. But
Yes.
now I kind of feel like that has really morphed into something different. And I do think that Chad still believes it. And I do think that Lori believes it too. I think Lori is a much more fervent believer. Well, it's hard to say what Chad believes because he doesn't speak. Perhaps when he's found guilty, then and he will be given the opportunity to speak, perhaps we'll hear from him. I don't know. I mean, this is as good as we're going to get. That's kind of why I want to get the jail calls, because as gross as they probably are and as irritating as they probably are, I am very curious how much Chad actually believed.
Me too, but we know from the text and stuff that he was like he was the one running the show. He was the one saying how sick this person is, how sick that person is. He was saying, you know, he was manipulating his family, saying Tammy's grandmother was coming to him and saying that Tammy didn't have much time left. And you know what I mean? Things like that. Like, so that's why I think part of me, like, he knows that shit's bullshit and he was feeding it to people. He probably believed in some of it. And also, I think he fantasized, like, about, like Teacup said, like you said too, they both wanted to be special. He fantasized about like the possibilities of this being true and being the head of the 144,000.
Yeah. I don't know. I am curious though. And I do think that there's some parts in here, this call, I think that shine a little bit of light on, I don't necessarily think anybody runs the show all the time. And I don't have, that didn't come out correctly. I'm just going to say this. In this situation, I think that they both manipulated each other, but I think they both manipulated each other for different reasons and in different ways. I think that Lori manipulated Chad
I agree with that.
with her femininity and being a woman and all that implies. And I'm going to leave it there because it's gross. But between them, it's gross. But I think Chad manipulated Lori because he sort of took her out of that, you're more than a mother. You know, you can be essentially the mother to all of God's children. You know what I mean? By being the leader of the 144,000 with me, you know? And I think that, I just think that both of them, like I said, wanted to be something other than they,
Yeah. Well, Lori thought that Chad had this like all-knowing knowledge from life, from, you know, almost dying before having a near-death experience, and he manipulated her with that. She, you know what I mean? Him knowing all these secrets, like Lori felt special
Yes.
to be the one that.
Exactly. And if you think about the dynamic in their casting and chill group, how that really worked. Most everything that came from Chad to Lori and then to the group members.
Yep.
Very few people, Alex being one of them and Zulema being the other, had very little interaction and direct teaching from Chad himself. And so that put Lori again in a position of power. And so I think, it's hard to, I can't say for certain. I don't know these people, but it just seems to me that they both sort of fed into it with each other. And I do think that I think that separate, they wouldn't do these things alone. I think they were, for lack
What
of a better
about Joe
word,
Ryan?
the storm. I think
Agree. I was
Lori
just thinking
is,
that they're the perfect storm.
I think Lori is vindictive and certainly capable in her own way. But I think that I don't think it would have escalated to this point. Okay, and
Yeah,
I know
there's so
this
many
is going to
people.
sound thrown off, but I don't know another way to say it other than this. It's very different for a person to murder their spouse. That's bad, and it's one thing. But to murder
No,
your
that's
own
true.
children
Yes.
is something
Yes.
completely different. And
Like you could
I
almost understand how somebody could get to the point with their spouse where they're like, but not with your kids. That's just unfathomable.
exactly.
I totally get what you're saying. Yeah.
Exactly. It's very different, I think. And so I think that in that sense, I don't think that Lori would have participated in whatever capacity it was to killing JJ and Tylee, but for Chad. And just like I don't think that Chad would have participated in whatever capacity it was of killing JJ, of killing children, if not for Lori. That's what I think. I think they were both.
I got a
What?
question. Do you think
Okay.
that Chad always planned on killing Tammy himself, though? Because he always said she was going to die early. Is it possible that he always had in mind that he was going to kill her one day, like early, and get whatever life insurance and stuff like that? I had never even thought about that before till we like were having this conversation about Joe Ryan and the kid.
I don't think that he would have, I don't think Tammy would have died of asphyxiation had it not been for Lori being in Chad's life. I think if Chad was going to do anything to Tammy, it would have been to poison her slowly. That's what I think.
No,
And
Lil
I
Red,
think
he had been saying for years, that Tammy was going to die young. Poison her slowly. Oh.
Mm-hmm. And I actually think that might have been what he intended to do. See, because it's never made sense to me why Chad has always said, like, she's sick, but yet nobody else saw her sick. I almost wonder if that was Chad's plan, was that he was going to poison her over time so that she would be sick. And then when she did die, it wouldn't be like what ended up happening. Do you know what I mean? And
Mm-hmm.
I think Lori was like, I'm going to have to say, I've already done my part. And I kind of am ready for us to live our happily ever after. So we're going to have to go with a different plan. This one's not working for me. I do think that Lori pushed him, and she didn't push him in that overt of a way. She didn't tell him and encourage him to kill Tammy outright. What she did was threaten to withhold from Chad. She threatened to be out of his life. She threatened to, cut him off, as it were.
Oh, and we saw that in the
Mm-hmm.
text. We kind of saw that in the messages. Yeah, that she was starting to push her, like a her or me situation.
I mean, okay, so I know most of you guys probably have seen My Big Fat Greek Wedding, where they describe the man as the head, but the woman is the neck, and she can turn the head in any direction she wants. I think that is a good saying for Lori. I don't think that Lori was with Chad, I don't know how she was. She seemed different with Charles, but I think with Chad, she was more, how do I put this? She did it in a different way. It was a much more passive way. And I wonder sometimes if that has to do with the fact that Chad was born into the Mormon faith. And it's different for people who are born into the faith versus people who convert. When you grow up with a certain faith around you all the time, you grow up in that faith. It's very different. It's than somebody who converts at later on in life when they're older and they can make the choice. It's different.
How long had Lori been in the church? Because remember, Charles converted for her, but I don't remember
Lori
if
was-
she was like how long was she
Lori
born
was
in it,
born
or-
in it, babe. Mm-hmm.
I thought so. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
I knew
Yeah.
that Chad or Charles, I mean, converted for her,
And I think
and
so.
he
I think
he was like Baptist or something before, right? Or Catholic or some kind of like something else. He was something else though. I
yes,
remember hearing about him converting. Yeah.
yes.
Mm.
And I think that I think that's why her approach with Chad was different. No, Lori was born into the Mormon faith. Her family is Mormon. All of them are.
Okay.
I'm answering the chat that I should have highlighted. Now I've lost the comment.
Okay.
But yeah, Lori was born in it. And I think that's why her approach with Chad was much different in getting what she wanted than her approach with Charles. And let's be honest, ladies, shall we? We all know how to get what we want out of our significant others. We just do.
Yeah.
So on some level, like I know that if I want something, that the best way, if it's something that I need to ask about, right? If I need to consult about, I know that if I have the house all clean and a really like kick-ass dinner, and I don't even wait. And this is the trick. See, I never ask right immediately after I've done those things. No. So let's say it's a Friday, right? I have the house all clean and make a nice dinner. I don't bring up the thing that I want until like Sunday. See? So it's not so overt.
Well, what do you think?
What's that?
Well, what do you think the difference would be? What do you think the difference would be between like her getting what she wants with Chad versus with Charles? Because I cannot imagine going from a man like Charles, who seems like just such a good man, who loves his kids, works hard, also very gorgeous. He was a gorgeous man, manly, like just I don't know, just like athletic baseball player, like just I don't know, to Charles, frumpy dump, or to Chad, I mean frumpy dumpy, like not good looking. Wah, wah, wah. I don't know. It's just so weird to think of her wanting to leave Charles to be with Chad. And the way, like, I can't imagine. Yeah, all of it.
I don't understand
sure.
it either. See, okay. This is what I don't understand about Chad. Okay. Is that it isn't always about the looks. You can have a guy who looks in the looks department, looks wise. Chad is, and I'm not talking about Chad who's lost a little bit of weight on the jail diet. I'm talking about Chad prior to being arrested, chunky Chad. Okay. He's probably like looks wise, like a 4. Okay. But you can have a man who's a 4 in the looks department who is funny and kind and all of those things. And that will elevate him to being like, I don't know, sometimes you can a 6 or a 7, maybe even an 8 or a 9, depending. Right. But Chad has none of that. Like he's not like super unfortunate to look at. Right. But he's also but he also doesn't have like any type of stellar personality unless I mean, this is him with her. I mean, granted, they're talking in code, but I do believe that this was some similar to the exchanges between them when they were in person. Do you know what I mean? I think this is the essence of Chad. And I see he's not funny, he's not original, nothing. I mean, he can't even make the correct Harry Potter reference. His whole religion, I can't state this enough. His whole religious idea is based on fucking Supernatural season 2. I'm telling you, it's so annoying to me. He's ugh.
I've never seen it, so I don't know. I have to watch it to
And let me
make the
say this
connection,
also
but
about getting things out of your husband. Sometimes getting things out of your husband also means that you know you're going to have to, mostly with the kids, you're going to have to tell your husband or your significant other, your partner, bad news. It works that way too. Make sure that the house is nice. I like to break bad news gently, you know? So it's not just for getting things, it's also to, you know,
yeah. Nate
soften
says, I'll
some
take
bad news.
a 4 who's a good man over a 10 who's a low quality. But that's the thing. Charles was a 10 and a good man, a hardworking man, a man that would protect. He loved Lori. I mean, he loved her, and he even in the end, he just wanted to make sure his kids were safe. It's so sad what happened to Charles. But Chad is a 4 and a terrible man.
Yes.
Because I'm
So-
with you guys. You don't have to be good looking, but
No,
dang, man.
we are including personality into our man scale. Here's the problem with Chad. This is why I'm scoring him the way I am. Like, I've taken all the scores. I've taken his interview portion, the bathing suit portion, talent portion, all of it. Okay, I've tallied up all of those scores, and Chad is like a 3. I mean, honestly,
Yes.
if he would not speak, he might be a 4. But it's, you
Yeah.
know, then he opens his
No,
mouth
yeah.
and he's worse.
Exactly. Exactly. And he's just, ugh, I don't know. And not only that, it's not like he made a ton of money. I'm just saying, what was Lori attracted to? Was she just attracted to this person with like an ear to God, like that could talk to God
Yes.
or whatever? Yeah, that's what it had to be, because he had literally nothing else on his side. Nothing.
But yet, and this is what kills me about it, and we're going to hear this throughout the call, okay? Chad was not right about the things that he predicted. So here's my thing. If some guy comes to me and he says that he has a direct line to heaven, first of all, that's not going to move me in any way. I'm not religious, I'm spiritual, so that's really not going to do anything for me. But let me think of a way that would, maybe something similar that would move me. Oh, if a man came to me and he said, I can teach you the ways of the Force. I can teach you to give the Vader throat hug. I can teach you to shoot electricity out of your fingers at your enemies. I would entertain that until it didn't work. The first time. The first time it didn't work, I would be like, bruh,
Sorry.
I'm out. I have to make it relatable to me. You're not going to get me with religious talk. That's not the way. That's not the way into my heart or anything else.
I could entertain that if you could teach me to shoot. You said if you can teach me to shoot electricity at my enemies out my fingertips. I mean, I can entertain that.
I would imagine.
Just the way you
I
said
would
it.
entertain. I could entertain that. But the first time it didn't work, I would be like, I'm out, you know, but not Lori. And that's what gets me about her. That's why I can't figure out. I don't know. Let's just play this call and see what else is going. Let's just hear this.
Okay. Well,
And there's something that I know I was saying.
Oh, go ahead, babe.
Let's just listen. Okay, I was just going to say, I remember Mike King about that saying, like, when he studied cults, that when it's the most fascinating thing. Like when they're wrong, they just like adjust. Like say they're like the end of the world is in February, and then they start to be wrong, and they're like, wait, we got a sign. We got 3 more months. So you know what I mean? And then they'll adjust
Yes.
as they go.
Yes. Well,
Wow.
okay. I'll tell. Okay. So how Warren Jeffs, his prediction was that they had to leave Utah because this was when the Olympics were coming, and that the Olympics were going to bring about the end times. Okay. Well, when the end times didn't come, do you know what Warren Jeffs used to tell his people? God tested you, and you're not good enough. You're not doing what you're supposed to do. You're not righteous enough, and therefore you're not ready. So was his pivot. That's what
Wow.
he used to do.
I bet you.
Mhm.
I think that Mike King like talks like studied Warren Jeffs maybe or something. I don't know. I feel like he was like what he did with the FBI or whatever was with cults, I think, and
I have to look it.
yeah.
It's in the.
I have to
Okay,
go back and
Emily,
look.
did you yawn? Because now I'm yawning. Maybe I
No,
just
I
stopped your
didn't. But
yawns.
all right, I'll be quiet so we can listen.
No, you are just fine. No, you hardly ever want to talk, so I want you to talk. You don't have to be quiet.
Well, no, I am.
Now you're yawning.
Now, yeah. I don't think I yawned before, but I definitely did. It's so weird the way yawns are contagious like that. But
It
no, we
is.
can listen because it's a pretty long call.
It is. It is. And then we'll talk some more about end times.
Sitting here thinking about
Okay.
that. I know too much.
Yes.
I can't deny it. I know it's just a matter of time. I just don't know what that timing is.
So I texted Ray. He responded pretty quick.
Detective, I'm gonna pause it there. Did you hear Mr. Daybell say I texted Ray?
I did.
It's because my microphone wasn't up here. Yes, I can. Did you hear Mr. Daybell say that he texted Ray?
Yes, I did.
Through your investigation, did you become aware of any individual that had a nickname or alias of Ray?
Through our investigation, we learned that Alex Cox often went by Ray Lamar. We also associated a Gmail account through phone records back to Alex Cox, and that Gmail was raylamar@gmail.com.
Now, what was the date of this phone call again?
June 8th of 2020.
And was Alex Cox alive or dead at this time?
No, he was deceased.
Do you recall when he died?
December 12th of 2019.
Detective, through your investigation, did you find any information that Chad Daybell claimed to have the ability to speak with people who were deceased?
Judge, I'm going to object relevance.
Overruled.
Through our investigation, interviews with multiple witnesses that were close to him, through the teachings in his books, he would often talk about how he had the ability to see and speak with people on the other side of the veil.
And Your Honor, I'm going to resume playing at 7:34.
All right, before you do that, Mr. Wood, I think we might be able to assist on the audio.
Your Honor, I'm going to start playing at 7:34, and if the court can let me know if it's coming through the speakers.
All right, thank you.
Oh, it's good. Usually it's hard to get a hold of him. He's busy
Okay.
days.
Yes. But he was I asked him what we'd talked about. And he's very optimistic.
It was very optimistic for you, or he's very optimistic it could happen?
He's very optimistic for both of us.
He doesn't know his own project timeline.
He said, stick with it. To what he projected in that paper he wrote.
You know, house renovations always take longer than they think.
That's the problem.
I've been watching that Extreme Pools,
Uh-huh.
and the people are like 3 months out. Like,
I mean,
when they estimated they'd have it done, and they're like, well, we had so many problems, we couldn't get to the backyard, we had to pull a crane over the house to get these huge rocks for the waterfall.
I can remember last summer, Taylor Hill, Mark's friend, parents moved into a trailer, like a camping trailer, in their driveway because they were going to build their house by the end of the year. Guess where they're still at?
Really?
They sold their house to their son. And it's just a weird situation, but you're exactly right. Yeah, it takes forever.
Yeah, there's always something comes up. Well, we didn't know when we dug in your backyard, we were gonna find whatever. And then they're like, we have to redo all the piping, and then we had trouble with this, and then something else happened. And so, but they try to make it sound like it wasn't really that long, but it's always like, it's gonna take 3 months. And then 3 months after that, they're like, okay, it took 6 months. You couldn't come in your backyard at all. And now it's not summer anymore. Now it's winter, and your pool is finally done.
Right.
Mostly they do it in Florida, places like that. But. So he's optimistic about his construction problem, or construction
Problems.
not problems, but plan. His
Yeah.
construction plan, the blueprints are still intact.
Yes.
They're tiny.
And I kind of just said, I texted him what you just said is, you guys are always a little off.
Right, exactly. We just want a real estimate.
Right.
What do you say?
He just laughed.
So he did not confirm nor deny that fact. That contractors are always later than they think they're gonna be.
He's like, it'll work out, how he is. He did want me to say he misses you.
Okay, I find this part so freaking telling. First of all, Lori referencing digging in the backyard, which essentially is where Chad and Alex and or both, who knows, but
Yeah.
who did exactly what. But I found that to be completely disgusting and in poor taste. And I think there was a little catch, and I think Chad didn't want to react to that too much because, and that's why Lori said at the end, she caught herself and said, whatever,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I also think that they're keenly aware, as you know, they talked all the time on the phone. Every time the phone, every time we know from listening to Letitia's calls that every single time you're placing the call is connected. Both parties are aware that it's being recorded and monitored, subject to monitoring, which means just like Detective Hermesia just testified to, he has a login and a password, and he can access these calls at any time, and he did.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's
Well,
why they're talking in the way that they are. And I do think they're blaming a lot of this on Alex.
yep. That's what they're doing, but it's perfect for the jury to hear because you hear Chad telling Lori, but does Lori believe him? I don't think it makes her any less guilty, or she should. I think she's evil in her own way. even without believing the bullshit, because I do believe that Joe Ryan didn't die naturally, but that's just my opinion. But she seems to really believe him. And with her, like, being found not competent. And then if you remember, she was like on her way to trial. We'd have a hearing or two, and then they put her back in the hospital because, yeah. So I just wonder, like, how much of it, or does she believe it all? Because I don't know. It's just, and also it's frustrating to hear her talk about watching freaking what is that channel, the HGTV or whatever,
Oh,
the
yeah,
home,
yeah.
yeah, that
Home
is
garden
annoying.
TV.
Yeah, to hear her talking about watching that frustrates me. And there was something else along the way that they said I wanted to comment on, but
You know what?
can't
If
remember
I
it
were
now.
in charge of running jails, what the prisoners and the people in jail would be watching? PBS telethons on loop. Just the telethon part. Nothing, not like we're going to show you like they used to back in the day. One of their telethons was, or their pledge drives was, they played like the Eagles, what was it? Their tour, Hell Freezes Over, when they got back together, and they played they had that concert or whatever. I wouldn't play any of that stuff. Nothing but just them constantly on a loop, reminding the public that this is public television, that it's because of donors like you. That's all that I would play on a loop. That's it. That's all they
Torture.
could fucking watch.
Freaking torture.
Yes. Yes. That's what I would do. All right, here we go.
Okay.
He wanted me to say he misses you. Fuck off, Chad.
Oh God, I can't get over that.
But he's not far.
Look at
From-
Ellie. Thank you, Melissa.
Contact. We can talk. We can text him whenever he wants.
Yeah, I can't text anybody. Have text.
It
You have
was,
to text for me. That's like me telling you, I need you to tell this person and talk to this person.
I'll text him back. But he's optimistic. I want to go visit him and grab him by the throat and say, really?
Can he? I know he's optimistic, but can he just make us any guarantees? I mean, we did make our down payments and everything else.
Guarantee.
It was like a guarantee, just an end date of our project.
Well, he knows you pretty well. So he just laughs. No, I asked him what he thought of the video project. He said it was really nice. He loved it.
Oh, good.
Detective, through your investigation, were you aware of any type of video put out about Alex Cox around this time?
Not around June 8th. But shortly after Alex Cox died, his sister Summer Shiflett made a YouTube video with clips of Alex, photos throughout his life, and put it to music. And so we viewed that early on in the investigation, but that's what is being referred to here.
Judge, I'm going to object. That calls for speculation. He can't speculate is what it calls for.
Untimely, overruled.
And Judge, I had stopped playing at 12:13. I'm going to recommence playing at 12:13.
You may.
I'm sorry. I
Yeah,
I
that
like
was
it.
good.
Hold on.
Although I'd never heard that song before.
I like it when Judge Boy Saint beat for Pryor's bullshit. Untimely, overruled.
Don't know what that is. Maybe it's just something on like iMovie or something that's on your phone.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like one of the backgrounds that you can
Church
use or something.
found just a happy one. Yeah.
I
Mhm.
don't know, because I've never even heard that one, or I've never seen the app, but I know people can do that. iMovie, it was always on my iPhone. I just didn't ever click on it.
Can I just say that way before this phone call ever aired, I did say, I referenced to, I said that what Lori did to Charles, JJ, and Tylee was like a sacrifice. And here she is talking about a down payment. Basically, she murdered Charles, JJ, and Tylee as like her down payment to heaven, to eternity. Isn't that disgusting?
It is. Okay, so this was one day before the kids were found?
Yes. And
Wow.
he listened to this after the kids were found.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
I only listened to the call. I didn't hear the testimony around it. And I listened to the testimony during it, but I guess I didn't hear that earlier about June 8th. But when I heard it just now, I was like,
Yes.
oh, whoa, okay. Okay.
Yeah. I have the iMovie. It was always on my iPhone. I just did never click on it. Shut up, Lori. Fucking
Yeah,
bitch.
but
So,
frustratingly optimistic, I guess is.
so frustrating for us.
Yeah,
We're gonna be
that's what I
completed.
mean.
Thanks for completing your project on time. Will they get a bonus? They do it.
Oh yeah, we'll give him a bonus. It was good. It was good to talk. You know, I hadn't texted him in a while. So,
So he would still answer all my questions in the same way, you think, if I texted him?
I think you ought to write down some questions for him and maybe even mail them off and see what happens. See if he'll respond to you. I have no doubt. Don't forget President Holland's talk. That snippet. He seemed like he wants to text you if he could. Yeah, it's all true. That's all I can say. They haven't forgotten.
I know they want to work on our project and they're not too happy and busy. You know, that's how I spelled it out. Oh, just like, I'm busy.
Well, truth
I'm
to that.
good. It's good. It's good. You know what I'm saying?
No, he's still very interested. He hasn't like forgotten about us.
Good. I know he has other projects, so I don't know how much time that takes. but-
He's involved in this latest batch.
Wow. Remind him when you do text him back that at the beginning of this project, he said there was only like a 3% chance that there would be trouble from certain aspects. And that seems like 100% trouble because that's where it all started.
Okay. This part to me seems like while she's referencing Alex, I actually think she's directly speaking to Chad here. I do not believe for a second that it was Alex Cox who came up with the idea that that Charles Vallow had because that's what she's talking about. Charles Vallow had a dark passenger that needed to be exorcised, and then when they got the demon out or the dark spirit out, the body would die. That doesn't sound anything like Alex Cox does not seem to me somebody that would come up with something like that. I just don't see it. But I think that what she's talking about here is that it all started with when Charles Vallow was murdered. And I don't think that she's speaking to Alex. I think she's actually speaking to Chad and saying, look, you said there was only going to be like a 3% chance that we were going to be get in trouble. But bruh, I'm talking to you from inside the jail and I'm charged. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
technically at this point she wasn't, because I think she was just in contempt because she hadn't produced the kids because they hadn't been found yet. So I actually think she's speaking to Chad, which tells me that if she's questioning him, then she must not have been 100% sold on all of the things all of the time. Because otherwise, why would you question? If you were 100% sold, why would you be questioning
I
it?
think once you're in jail, you can't help but question it and not be sold anymore and be like, what the heck's going on? Now I'm in jail, been here for months, because I think she got arrested in the spring of that year. It was a while before, because it was like January, when it was in the winter when they were in Hawaii, like early winter.
I feel like it was during the lockdown that they were in Hawaii and that they arrested her and then extradited her back. So I feel like it was like maybe February or March, maybe somewhere in there. Hey, criminality, long time no see, babe. How you doing?
Hey T, I'm not on chat anymore, but let me look it up really fast.
Yeah, would you for me? And I'll push play.
Okay.
So find out about that.
Right.
See what he has to say for himself on that issue. And you know exactly what I'm talking about.
I do.
We all do, Lori.
Recall what I'm talking about?
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Okay.
Judge, I'm going to stop at 1635. Detective, who is asking who to obtain information in that snippet we just heard?
Lori was asking Chad for information.
Your Honor, I'm going to continue playing at 1635.
We all got nervous, babe.
So I
All of
want to
us.
know why that is 100% instead of 3% chance of having a problem.
I think he was somewhat right in that. The other aspect was other people. It was a combination.
I know it was a combination. I'm not saying there were other problems, obviously, it's of the location. But what I'm saying is that it's a combination of only, 5 problems.
I agree.
That was the big one.
It was a big one. Uh-huh.
So my faith in those kinds of guarantees are lower.
Wait, what did she just say? Hold on, let me rewind this because she said 5 problems, right?
I don't
Yep.
know. Replay it. And also,
I am.
she was arrested February 20th of 2020. Oh, Lisa got it too. Thank you guys. But yeah,
Thank
February
you
20th.
guys.
So
you
this
guys.
was, months later. Wow.
Yes,
She's been sitting
this
there for
was
a minute.
June. So March, April, May, June, 4 months later.
Yeah, and all you got to do is say where your kids are, and you can get out, Lori. That was the position we were in at that time.
Yes. And what was she doing? Not saying anything. Here we go.
What I'm saying is that it's a combination of only, 5 problems.
I agree.
That was a big one.
It was a big one. Uh-huh.
So my faith in those kinds of guarantees are lower.
Me too.
And beggars can't be choosers. I get that, but you know what I'm saying.
Mhm.
Oh, God. Okay. So 5 problems. Charles, JJ, Tylee, Tammy. That makes 4. Would Alex be the 5th problem?
Did she say 5 problems? I
Yes.
couldn't.
5 problems. Hold on. Yeah, she said 5 problems. So who's the 5th?
Did the closed captioning say that too, by the way? Did you see?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Because I heard the 5, I just couldn't hear it. So like hard to hear for me. But you guys, a lot of y'all hear that and the closed captioning. That's
Yeah, she said 5 problems. So who are the Oh, Brandon Boudreau was the 5th. Maybe he was the 5th.
yeah.
Oh, but Kathy says the 5th is Alex. Let's just keep listening.
6 problems, really.
Not like I get
Yeah, for real. They can't even count.
to pick the colors of everything that I want. He's just gonna have to figure it out.
Right.
Since I'm here and I can't be in charge of the project. So
Mhm. Yeah. I've thought back on that entire scenario.
we went over the plan and the blueprint
Mm-hmm.
and
And yeah, he said that wouldn't be a problem.
right.
Hmm. Well,
What to take on that one.
oh,
Why was that?
it really was.
Right.
No, I don't doubt that. It's just strange how it blossomed. So
So go ahead.
you go ahead.
No, I'm just gonna say, so you think it was meant to have complications and
Well, there is no testimony without test,
meant
Lori,
to
you asshole.
go that direction?
At some point, yeah.
Well, then you should have said, hey, this is a 99% chance that we're gonna have trouble with this soil,
Yeah.
right? I mean, that's all we were asking.
Well,
Could this potentially be good, or do we have to fill it with sand?
I think we sensed that we shouldn't take it lightly, and I don't think we did. I mean, we only discussed the matter with the trouble once, and I thought we cut it off and did well, and now that problem is kind of causing its own trouble for itself.
Right.
Hold on. He might actually be talking about Brandon now. Because let's think about this. What was it that got that led to Tammy being exhumed? And what was it that got Charles' death looked into further, reopened?
Was it Brandon or was it
I
Ian
feel
and
like,
Kay and JJ?
see,
Casey and JJ was missing.
well, see, I think it started with Tylee and JJ being missing, but then somebody took a shot at Brandon Boudreaux. And so I
Well,
think that it was the shot at Brandon Boudreaux, remember, because it was the Jeep, and it's the Jeep that was described, and it turns out that Tylee drove the
Tyler's
Jeep,
Jeep.
and it was,
Mhm.
yep. And see, I'm thinking that might, maybe they are talking about Brandon, that Brandon was the catalyst for all of this. And it's possible too that they could be talking about, on some level, Alex Cox, because he missed Brandon. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. Yeah. Maybe all of them. Who knows?
But there's other things in the project where when I'm going back over it, right, that I could have easily done or been inspired to do to avoid a lot of the issues that are going to come up with that.
Yeah.
That we weren't made aware of. So you see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. I
So
do.
it was meant to go this way, you think, is what I'm saying.
I do. It's terrible. Minor changes here and there, but overall, this was part of the blueprint. I mean, just
What?
I just wish it hadn't been. But I'm thinking of previous blueprints where the people weren't warned either. It's maddening. Ray's in that contractor position for a reason, and he's not gonna drop us for another project.
Well, can't he like forcibly use a hand, punch some people in the face and get some things done? Some people in particular, like the 3%er person?
I don't think he wants to be violent, but
Well, I'm not saying be violent. I'm saying get their attention.
He did. What he did was kind of mute her effect. I don't know, just kind of kept her in her place for quite a while, to the point it almost diffused any value of her.
about, not talking about that. In the beginnings, you know, going back over the whole blueprint and all the things that we've been, you know, I don't know what the word is, you know, when you go through it. Anyway, a lot of that stuff could have been avoided.
Yeah,
Just minor tweaks.
yes.
And I don't know why it had to go down this road to where we are now in the project.
Mm-hmm. I know. I don't fully understand. I think he'd text you back or write you back.
Ultimately, what I need from you is that the project is going to be finished and everything is going to be fine and it's going to work out.
That's what he said.
Well, I need you to tell me that every day, several times.
Okay. My sweet, lovely Lola. Things are going to work out. Not just because he says so, but because I know so. It's a marvelous plan. Slight
How do you know
hiccup.
so?
How do I know? It's been shown to me, honey. I've seen those beautiful eyes filled with tears as she sings to amazing groups of people. And I've seen that wonderful body dance to heavenly songs.
Your Honor, I'm stopping at 2641. Detective, in that conversation, who is asking who for assurances?
Lori was asking Chad, and we found that throughout multiple phone calls. She would ask Chad for assurance.
And who said they had seen the plan?
The defendant, Chad Daybell.
Your Honor, I'm starting again at 2641.
Their purpose is only beginning. It's hardly begun. And it will be the pair. It won't be solo. And it's going to be incredible.
Be cholo and not solo.
That's right. Yep. It will be the Eurythmics. No solo careers. I'm just absolutely sure. I was saying it will be the Eurythmics. It won't be two solo careers.
I know, but I'm saying, you said you have absolute what?
I'm gonna have to stop you right there, Chad. The Eurythmics no longer are a band. I don't know if you're aware of this, but Annie Lennox has a very successful solo career. You should have known right then, Lori. Fucking idiot.
Confidence?
Absolute assurity, confidence, confirmation. It's going to be as seen. There's some things that aren't going to be altered.
Okay. Wow. What you think, Allie? Hold on a minute.
I
Go
think it's
ahead.
I just think that's good for the jury to hear because it shows that he's kind of guiding her in this, in some of this. So, other than that, I think it's just gross to hear and yeah, gross.
Okay, I've changed. You're right. It is disgusting. But let me say this. I think I might have changed my mind a little bit on some of the code words. Because oh no, I'm keeping it the same. Okay. Sorry. I confused my own self because I'm trying to speak in their code, which is ridiculous. But so they keep referencing these blueprints, which is obviously synonymous with plans. Okay. That's all blueprints are, is plans, right? So if they put, well, wait a minute now. If they put Alex in the contractor position, then Alex is the person in charge of enforcing, making the plans come to fruition. The drawer of plans, for in this jacked up ass metaphor, right? They're using home renovations, building a pool. So the person who draws the plans is the architect. So then if Alex is the contractor, he's just the person in charge of making the plans occur, right? Happen. But the drawer of the plans, the architect in this case, would be who? Chad and Lori, right? And or Lori, because I think it changed. I do think that okay, Legendary, we will no longer be doing any man grading for the rest of this life. I cannot promise you that if we don't have this wall of Chad, something similar to the wall of Chad that we have going on currently in another case, that there will not be further man grading. That's way too into the future, and I can't see that far. But I feel like they're actually admitting that it isn't Alex who came up with all the things. It's just Alex who did all of the things, which is weird because they're in court right now blaming Alex, which, I mean, just because you are the planner, right? I suppose the argument could be made. All I did was talk about it. I didn't do it, right? Alex is the one that did it. So maybe I don't know.
Well,
I'd like to know who the
charges.
5 are. Huh?
That's pretty much admitting to the conspiracy charges, you know what
Right.
I mean?
Well, yeah.
So I don't know, Bendy. It beats the hell out of me, honestly. I don't know. I'm really curious to see. It's a really good question though, that they're kind of like blaming Alex now. And I don't know. We'll just have to see what happens, just like with his defense, which I'm really, really looking forward to this. I just want to hear, are they going to blame Lori? What are the kids going to say? What could they possibly think they could put forward that could erase, I don't know, that phone call, for instance? So
Legendary. Look at him. Good night, friends and
Can't
man
read it.
haters. We do not. No, don't get it twisted. Legendary, but good night also. We do not hate men's over here at the ward. Okay. What we don't appreciate is walls of evil, aka Chad. I know you're kidding. I know you're kidding.
I can't see the chat right this second. I have the guest thing up and it's on my chat's not open. So
I don't hate the storm. I mean, it will be interesting. I don't know what is going to. The only thing I can think of that the kids would be put on the stand for would be to say that they knew Tammy was sick and that she didn't like doctors. That's what they're there for. I don't think that there's no defense for JJ and Tylee, and here's why. Because you could make the argument, right, that yes, you had an affair with Lori. And unfortunately, her crazy murderous brother was part of the package. And he did all of the killing and all of the things and all of the burying. And Chad had no idea about any of it, right? But for the texts between Chad and Tammy, where he talks about shooting and killing a raccoon and burying in the pet cemetery. That's the part where he's not gonna, there's no way for him to weasel around it. I think I think the defense for Tammy is going to be simply that it was not murder, it was natural causes, and that the state was looking for anything and everything to pin on this fool. And that they amended, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Let's see.
They the death certificate, exhumed her body or as prior, which is, I don't like that he's doing this. I think this is super low brow and super low hanging fruit, and it's not going to work because the proper word, obviously, we all know is exhumed, right? But what he's trying to do is, in my opinion, is elicit an emotional reaction from the jury, right? Look at these kids, their poor mother was dug up, which is just gross the way that he's putting it. And it's not what it's not what happened. They don't exhumation is something of a last resort. They don't like to do it. And so they were not shot. So Tylee's is homicide of unknown origin. And there was testimony from the forensic anthropologist that I need to listen to the end of that, because he was talking about tool marks, and some of the tool marks he was talking about were from dismemberment, but the other ones I think he was talking about were actually how she was murdered. And so but at any rate, that's the official cause. And then JJ's was listed as asphyxiation by putting a bag over his head and duct tape over his mouth.
I cannot imagine the terror in that moment for that poor baby, man.
Me either. And I gotta say, the one thing that they didn't ask about, but I've always wondered about, is the use of the duct tape on his arms and his, legs and his hands, like his wrists. And maybe they just couldn't tell because of how much time. But if there were, how there'll be marks left when somebody struggles against bindings. And because I cannot understand what the purpose and intent would be to duct tape him like that. As far as, using it to take his life. None of this should have happened. But it just feels like.
So sad, man.
Yeah. It feels like that's what happened first. And then maybe and it breaks my heart because the terror that he and Tylee must have felt. Because either way it goes, right? Let's say it wasn't Lori that physically took Tylee's life. Then that would mean it was Alex, right? And Alex is probably somebody that she, on some level, nobody ever talks about their relationship really, but that at least on some level she loved, and probably on some level also trusted.
Yep.
And then it is. And then you have JJ. And it's heartbreaking no matter how it was, but particularly heartbreaking if it was Lori and Alex, because it seemed like from the witness testimony who were around Lori and the kids in the last part of their lives was that JJ and Alex spent a lot of time together. When JJ was unmanageable, Lori frequently sent him to be with Alex. So either way, he was also murdered by somebody that he loved and trusted, which I think is the act that is the saddest.
Yeah.
It's all sad. And then Tammy,
Yep. Same thing.
same
That's
thing.
someone she loved and trusted. It's horrible.
It's horrible. All because they think these fools think that God wants them to be in charge of gathering up the 144,000 minus 2, because obviously them, and that would include murder. Murder of anybody is bad. Murder of your own children is something else too.
Yep. It's particularly disgusting. It really is. Good night, Little Red.
Good night, Little
Well,
Red.
I guess we'll have to watch and talk about Pryor's
Absolutely.
case.
I'm shocked. I can't wait to hear what he throws together for a defense.
Yeah, me too.
But it's late, you guys. I've kept you for 2 hours. Allie's tired. I'm tired. I got to get up early tomorrow to
Me too.
finish the calls for May. And I want to thank everybody for being here. Thank you, Allie, for coming up. Thank you to the mods. Thank you, chatters. I just appreciate each and every one of you. And I will see you guys tomorrow for a marathon of more bullshittery. Tisha Stout.
Yeah.
All right. Good night, y'all. Bye.